Aiden picked up the keys, their metallic coldness sending a shiver down his spine. He was finally moving into his new apartment. The place was a steal for the size and location. The agent had mentioned something about the previous tenant leaving rather abruptly, but deals this good were rare in the city. Aiden shrugged off the thought and stepped inside. The air inside felt heavy, stagnant. A thin layer of dust coated everything. The apartment was eerily silent, amplifying the echo of Aiden's own footsteps. He walked from room to room, attempting to familiarize himself with the layout. The more he explored, the more uneasy he felt. There was an unsettling energy about the place. It felt cold, unwelcoming. The first night was the worst. Aiden lay in bed, struggling to fall asleep. The silence was broken only by the creaking of the old building. Just as he was drifting off, he heard it. A whisper, barely audible, seeming to come from right next to his ear. "I see you." Aiden shot up in bed, his heart pounding in his chest. He strained to hear, his eyes scanning the darkness. The room was empty. He told himself it was just his imagination, the stress of the move playing tricks on his mind. He tried to dismiss it and go back to sleep. The second night it happened again. This time the voice was closer, more insistent. "I'm right here." The whisper sent chills down his spine, a cold sweat clung to his skin. A wave of nausea washed over him. Aiden fumbled for his phone, his hands trembling. This was no longer his imagination. Something was wrong. Determined to find an explanation, Aiden set up his phone to record himself while he slept. He tried to reason with himself, to find a logical explanation. Maybe it was a draft, creating strange sounds, or perhaps mice scurrying within the walls. But deep down, a primal fear gnawed at him. He knew whatever it wasn't natural. The next morning, Aiden awoke with a start. The fear from the previous night came flooding back. He grabbed his phone, his hands shaking. He pressed play on the recording. The first few hours were uneventful, just the sound of his own breathing and the occasional creak of the building. Then, he heard it. The whisper, clear as day. This time, it was different. It sounded desperate, hungry. He increased the volume, focusing intently on the recording. A gaunt, eyeless figure flickered into existence for a split second. It was leaning over him, its breath raspy and cold against his ear. The whisper sent shivers down his spine. "You're mine now." Terror gripped Aiden. He had to get out, escape this nightmare. He frantically threw some clothes on, his hands shaking so badly he could barely button his shirt. He glanced at the phone. It was still recording. He didn't have time to stop it. He had to get out, now! He fled the apartment, the door slamming shut behind him. The phone lay on the bedside table, recording. Silence. Then a soft whisper, barely audible at first, slowly grew louder. "You can't hide forever." A pause, then a final whisper, cold and menacing, echoed through the empty apartment. "You're next."